Dream. Our topic was the Second Great Awakening, which was a religious revival that resulted in thousands of conversations of evangelical religions. Beginning with perfectionism. Revivalists like Charles Grandison Finney traveled from town to town lecturing the crowds about eradicating sin in the name of perfectionism. The evangelicals did not believe that they were saved through grace like their Anglican and Puritan forebears did. In the Doctrine of Perfectionism, created by revivalist Charles Grandison in his lecture to professing Christians and in his Methodist Doctrine of Holiness, Christians soon learned that they could conquer sin. People could become faithful, they could stop drinking, they could obey the Sabbath, observe the Sabbath, they could remain truthful, and they could stop using the Lord's name in vain and overall obey the Ten Commandments, obey God's Ten Commandments. And they could make themselves into what they viewed as God's definition of perfect, which is where perfectionism comes from. The next thing that we will be talking about is the Unitarian, Baptist, and Methodist. Beginning with the Unitarian, which was an early Christian denomination that spread quickly throughout the 19th century. Unitarianism was a Christian theological movement, and the name came from the understanding of God as one person. Unitarians adhered to the idea that Jesus was a great man and a prophet of God, but not God himself. Next with Baptist, that is of or relating to Protestant denomination of Christianity, which believes in the baptisms of believer as opposed to getting baptized at birth. And as for Methodist, that was a movement of Protestant Christianity that was represented by a number of denominations and organizations which claimed upon 70 million people worldwide. And all of this relates to the religious reforms as well as the Second Great Awakening because it demonstrates the effort to apply Christian teachings to the problem that came about the 19th century prior to the Civil War. And the last thing that we will be talking about is evangelicalism, which during this time period, there was actually a rise in evangelicalism. Evangelical activism involved a very important doctrinal shift away from the predominantly Calvinist orientation that pretty much shaped American Christianity during the 18th century. Jonathan Edwards and George Whitefield, who were Calvinists, stressed the idea of the sinful nature of humans and their incapacity to be able to overcome the nature without the direct action of the grace of God working through the Holy Spirit. Overall, they focused on sin as a human action and harbored the belief that humans had the ability to stray away from sinful action. The revivals ended up enrolling millions of new members in existing evangelical denominations, and which also caused the formation of new ones as well. And that is it for Dream.
Hello and welcome to Moon's section. Today we will be discussing the topics Revivalism, Charles G. Finney, Church of Latter-day Saints, and Mormons. First we will start with Revivalism, which is the emotional meetings designed to awaken religious faith through preaching and praying. It was led by Charles Grandison Finney, who was the father of modern revivalism. The next topic we will be discussing is Mormons, which was started by Joseph Smith in New York. Mormonism began with a sense of magic rocks called seer stones given to him by an angel who helped him decipher golden tablets. Smith and his followers believed that Native Americans were 10 lost tribes of Israel. Mormons traveled across the country from New York to Illinois to Missouri and to Utah as the final destination. When they arrived in the new place, they purchased land, and many became fearful of competing against the group. The final topic we will be talking about is Church of Latter-day Saints. The Church of Latter-day Saints, or LDS, originates a new religious movement, branch of Christianity, founded in the U.S. about 180 years ago. Formed by Joseph Smith in 1830 and led to Utah by Brigham Young after Joseph Smith's death. The Church of Latter-day is considered a success, as even today the church grows with increasing memberships. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to Sprout section. I'll be talking about Peter Cartwright, Timothy Dwight, and Camp Meeting. Peter Cartwright has many nicknames like Uncle Peter, Backwards Preacher, Lord's Plowman, and the Kentucky Boy. He was an American Methodist revivalist, preacher in the Midwest, as well as he was elected twice to be in the legislature, and helped started America's second Great Awakening. He baptized 12,000 converts, and at age 15, he went to the camp meeting associated with the revival of 1800. Then he became a preacher at age 15 and ordained at 19 years old. Moving on to Timothy Dwight. Timothy Dwight was an academic and educator, congregationalist, minister, theologian, and author, and was the 8th president of Yale College. Dwight was notable for his political leadership, for his religious and educational eminence in '98. He also helped create the Second Great Awakening intended to re-church America. The camp meetings that Peter Cartwright went to was a meeting for preaching communion on the American frontier during the Second Great Awakening. It provided singing and other music related with the religion, and it's mostly music and hymn singing at the camp. The music and hymn singing was a camp meeting tradition with strong oral, improvisatory, and spontaneous elements. And that's it for the Sprout section.
Hello and welcome to the Star section. Today I will be talking about Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and New Zion. So Joseph Smith, he was a believer of God, and he came to believe that God had singled him out to receive special revelation in divine truth. In 1830, he published the Book of Mormon, and he proceeded to organize the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS. He received traditional social doctrines such as patriarchal authority within the family, and encouraged practices that were central to the individual's success in the age federal capitalist markets and factories and hard work. He had his goals was a church-directed society that could inspire moral perfection. The Mormons eventually settled to Nauvoo, Illinois, which was in 1840. In 1840, he had the largest utopian community in the U.S., but Smith refused to abide by any of the Illinois laws because he didn't approve it. So he asked Congress to turn Nauvoo into a separate federal territory and declared himself a candidate for president. Smith also claimed to have received a new revelation that justified polygamy. In 1844, Illinois officially arrested Smith and charged him with treason for allegedly conspiring with foreign powers to create a Mormon colony in Mexican territory. An anti-Mormon mob stormed the jail in Illinois, where he and his brother were being held, and they got murdered. Very, very sad. Smith was the founder, to recap what I just said, Smith was the founder of a Mormon religion, and he got murdered by mobs in Illinois when he went to jail for treason. Brigham Young took over after Smith got murdered, and he established New Zion on the banks of Great Salt Lake in Utah, and that's where they practiced polygamy again. So Brigham Young, he was a successor of the Mormons after the death of Joseph Smith. He was responsible for the survival and the sex of its established in Utah, thereby populating the would-be state. Brigham Young was an American leader in the Latter-day Saint movement and a settler of the western United States. He was the president of the Church of Jesus of Latter-day Saints, or LDS Church for short, from 1847 until his death, 1877. He founded Salt Lake City, and he served as the first governor of the Utah Territory in the United States. And New Zion was A religious community or a Mormon settlement that was established by Brigham Young. That's all for the start section.
What was that? Breaking news. The Second Great Awakening led to a period of antebellum social reform and an emphasis on salvation by institutions. Thanks for watching.